And now my bitter hands cradle broken glass of what was everything. All the pictures have been washed in black, tattooed everything. All the love gone bad, turned my world to black, tattooed all I see, all that I am, all that I'll be. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we're not down, we're not out. We might be shaken, but we're not stirred. We are on the uprise.
You speak for yourself. By the way,
yes.
you say those lyrics. Why did I think of high school?
I don't know.
Because that has to be what my grandma used to make, called Pearl Jam.
Yes, she made Pearl Jam.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Jam out of pearls.
really?
No, I have no idea. Where do you get a name like Pearl Jam?
I don't know. I think randomly take a couple words, toss them together. I don't know.
I don't know the song title. I'll admit that.
Black.
Oh, right. I was going to
Yes.
guess that. I know Black and Jeremiah or
Yes.
something were their two big ones from. I don't know if it was 10 or Versus.
Jeremy,
I get them,
yes.
Yeah, I get them mixed up.
Also, Even Flow, Alive. Alive was maybe their. Well, Jeremy was black. It's hard
You
to
going
say.
back 92-ish, maybe
Yeah.
93. Okay, I remember Pearl Jam at its height. They faded pretty fast, but I remember.
Faded pretty fast. Their next album, Versus, was huge as well.
I mean, after their first two, they had two
the third one was big too. You had
good sales, but
was Better Man on that
Vitalogy,
one? And,
yeah,
yeah.
I good sales, but I think that kind of started their. I don't think they were ever. Of course, you can't make everything as good as your best. I mean, it's sort of like a TV show. You can't make every show as good as your best show.
Let me tell you this: how many years later are we, and they're still touring the country and selling out auditoriums? So
Yeah, I mean, musicians. Nobody lives on the past better than they do. But I'll tell you what.
really,
As long as the Stones are still going, I think. My dad hearing them when they got back from Vietnam, they've been around for a while.
yeah, that's true.
Part of me respects that. Part of me thinks it's pathetic. So
Well.
I don't know how to say that
But
nicely.
what would you do if it's what you really love? Why would you do something else?
Well,
and
I guess my answer to that is that when you have millions of dollars and you've achieved all you can achieve in a genre, I'd hope, and this is just me, that something else you could do would satisfy you. I mean, to me, if I were the very, very best at something, like a pro athlete,
Yeah.
you're not a pro athlete till you're 80, okay, or
Right.
till you're 65,
Right.
And I would hope that when that was over, that I would do something else that would,
yeah, I mean, a lot of them start businesses or
Some of them
coach
do.
or whatever.
Some of them
do.
do. Some of them announce and things like that. I guess
Some of them sit at home on the couch and smoke and play video games. But
smoke what? I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, I would just hope that here's what let me just say this, and
Yeah.
sounds so bad, but I remember cringing as a kid when I watched this.
Yeah.
It was either 87 or 88, and the Twins had an old timers game. Now, look, I know ball players back in the 60s
Right.
weren't making millions. Even a guy like Harmon Killebrew wasn't.
Right.
Okay, some of them even have off-season
And I
jobs.
might have seen this game you're talking
Okay,
about.
and I'm going to tell you something. I
Yes.
can remember my dad telling me stories about who he watched and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I had cringe to watch this. I mean, and there were
Yeah.
exceptions.
Yeah.
Tony Oliva
Yeah.
looked like he could win a batting title, and he was probably 50.
Right.
Jim Cott
Yep.
threw it probably 80 miles an hour, and he's probably this 50 also
Right.
at the time.
Yeah.
So Earl Batty stands out to me.
Yeah.
Who was the Twins' little catcher. And he was so fat he couldn't squat. He had to sit on his knees. He looked like if you touched him, he'd roll over and he couldn't get back up. Okay, and there were a few others I don't remember, but
Yeah.
it was like, really? Ugh. It's kind of like watching an actress who was beautiful in her day, and now she's wrinkly and old, and it's kind of like, ugh.
Okay.
God, go
word.
bake cookies. Don't come back and act in a movie.
Are
I know
you
that's
saying
terrible.
everybody in movies should be like
No.
30 and under?
No.
Who's going to play grandmothers?
No,
and-
what I'm saying is
okay.
so many people live on past reputation and
Yeah.
not and I watch professional wrestling. Same thing. Yeah. Ric Flair out there with his boobs hanging out, and he's 70, wooing around because he didn't save a nickel of his money. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, as great as he is, and he is great. He's one of the best ever. But you think when you're a great grandfather, are you gonna walk around with no shirt on and roll around on a mat? I mean, I'm sorry. There's just something about that's maybe pathetic is the wrong word. Just sad. It's just sad. I just wish that didn't happen to people. Yeah. And maybe it's a lesson of not taking care of yourself, not taking care of your finances, not having something laid out for you and just assuming your career is going to go on forever. I don't know. It's just sad. Anyway.
Yes.
That's my rant for the day. Did I say go bake cookies?
Oh, what?
I said to go bake cookies, didn't I?
Maybe.
Do the dishes. How about that? That'll get us some hate mail. Go do the dishes.
My word. I do the dishes.
Of course you do. You probably fill up ice cube trays and read directions too.
I don't do ice cube trays or directions, but
I don't believe you, Jay. I know. That's terrible.
Yeah. Man's got to do what a man's got to do.
So you say.
Yeah. Not all of us live these pampered lifestyles.
Speak for yourself.
So we're not going to talk a ton about the actual elections, but we thought there's maybe something that we can take a look back at that would be interesting. And maybe sometime we'll talk about actual results when they've actually been figured out.
Yeah, when Arizona stops counting in the year 2096.
Yes.
They should be embarrassed as a state. You should be embarrassed. Right. You suck. You should be embarrassed. You embarrass the entire country. This is why people think elections are rigged and that there's shenanigans. I mean, let me back up.
Yeah.
And I know you want to talk about Florida, and I agree with you. In Florida, everybody thinks of the 2000 election. Everybody thinks of the Bush-Gore election back in 2000 and the hanging chads and the trying to call Florida before the Panhandle was closed, which by the way is in a different time zone. CNN,
and only has the capital of Florida in it.
Really, is that where
Tallahassee?
Is that in the Panhandle?
Isn't that in the Panhandle? It's up. I don't know. I have to look at a map.
I know Jacksonville is on the Atlantic. That might be what you're thinking of.
Maybe.
Tallahassee's in northern Florida. I know that.
Yeah.
It's weird that's the capital with Miami, with Orlando, with Tampa, who picked
you
who's Mr. Tallahassee? It has to be named after somebody. Yeah. It's got a horse's name, Tallahassee in the lead, coming around the corner.
Yeah,
okay, maybe. So, but you remember the what did it take? 5 weeks to declare a winner or something like that?
Time.
There was a recount, then there was another recount, then there was a third recount, then there was I don't remember what the Supreme Court
Tallahassee's
did.
in the Panhandle.
Okay, so there was that crap that happened, and look, I'm not necessarily going to blame Florida for that because nobody knew that. What was it? 630 votes President Bush won by or something like that down there. It was less than 1,000.
Right.
I know that. But I'll tell you what. Since then, Florida has been the best state in the country for counting votes.
Well, I don't know about immediately, but I will say this.
Well, okay, they are now.
Right.
They fixed whatever.
2002, you did not hear people complaining about Florida. By 2 years later, they had actually at least started to fix things so that there weren't those problems again.
There was something else called the Help America Vote Act that I think people don't talk about very much.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know if that's when voting machines came in, or where they were mandated everywhere or something like that. But I mean, again, it got rid of the hanging chair. I don't hate paper ballots personally. That's just me.
I like them.
I think that's why I don't like same-day registration. I think they should have to cast a provisional ballot till they're verified. That's
absolutely.
That's my opinion.
We're the only state in the nation that that doesn't happen.
In vouching, which is just total fraud. But anyway, the point being that to watch Florida have every ballot counted by like 10 p.m.
Yes.
okay, the other night,
Yes.
was incredible, especially when you consider that is what, now the third or fourth biggest state in the country?
Fourth, 21 million.
I think it's California's one,
Right.
Texas is two.
New York has shrunk.
Yeah.
And they're not.
No.
Yes.
No, half
get
of New York is now in Florida. That's
Yes,
what's happening.
that's right.
And it's interesting, too, to listen to officials in New York complain about that. And it's like, there's a lot of places with nice weather.
Yeah.
Okay. They go to Florida for reasons.
Yes.
Whether that's taxes or whatever else, they could go to California if they wanted.
They're not
notice
flooded
they
in New
don't.
Mexico.
Yeah, notice they're not flooding Mississippi. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's a lot of reasons that they end up. But to watch Florida, bang, get those early votes in. And Florida is a state where I have to compliment both parties. The Republicans in particular are spectacular at early voting there. They have a great system. They open those early voting things. In Minnesota, you have to go to City Hall, which, believe me, when you live in Plymouth, is not fun to go there and early vote. Florida has many more places open. You have to give a lot of credit to their state officials, going back to Jeb Bush and Rick Scott, and it's continued under Governor DeSantis. And to see them have all the votes counted at like 10 p.m.
Right.
And to watch California right now, or 2 days later, after the election, there are congressional seats with 25% of the vote cast.
Yes.
Which is just putrid.
Absolutely.
So what is it with Florida? Why are they so good? What is, and I'm going to tell you something, both parties deserve credit for this because, there's still a lot of blue areas in Florida, not as many as there used to be.
No, it used to be very purple up till the last two elections.
Well, and keep in mind, too, they had that purple, blue, red kind of splotches everywhere.
Right.
I mean, and obviously that's changed a lot in the last decade, maybe. I think Barack Obama is the last Democrat to win a statewide race there.
Right.
I think. I could be wrong about that, but they haven't had when was the last time they had a Democratic governor? Who was before Jeb Bush?
I don't remember.
Okay. But I mean, it was Jeb, Rick Scott, and then DeSantis.
It was Christ when he was a Republican.
Oh, that's right. But you can't count him, though. Yeah, but I mean, you can't count him as a Democrat.
Right. He was a Republican at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's true. So you had Bush, Christ, Scott, DeSantis.
Yes.
Now Scott's a senator.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I don't know who it was before Jeb. Doesn't matter. But I mean, everybody has to. The blue counties get everything in as quick as the counties administer a lot of that stuff,
Right.
and they get it in just as fast as anybody. So they don't have Maricopa County isn't in Florida. I mean, you have to give them credit because they were the focus point of an entire election, and dropped the partisan crap, dropped the whining and complaining, dropped the stupid accusations, and just got to business.
Yeah. Whereas Arizona, they had trouble 2 years ago and they didn't fix it.
Here's the other thing, too. They had trouble in 2016. President Trump won it by a wide enough margin that if you actually see when all the votes were counted, it was 2 weeks later.
Yep.
But President Trump had won it and of course McCain had won it. It was his home state. They had Kristen Sinema in 2018 was declared the winner like a week later.
I know.
And she was behind. And somehow it was like an Al Franken thing. Arizona you should be embarrassed.
Yep.
I have a dog and a cat, and they could count the votes faster. I'm not exaggerating.
You might be able to count them faster using Common Core math than whatever they're using over there.
I don't know.
They're
using. I don't know what they're using. What do they take a break? What are they, union or something? Take a break every 5 minutes? I don't know what it is, but how they can be so slow at it. How a rural county in Arizona could take days to bring in the vote is just. I mean, even here in Minnesota, which has had its issues going back to the Coleman-Franken race, whatever year that was. But I mean, there's all the precincts had reported by midnight. on election night. Or 1 a.m. or something like that.
Something like that. And then they found a box of ballots in the trunk later.
Yeah, maybe. There's a church pew where somebody had left them, but probably from a different election, and they counted this time. But the thing that when you see Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, California, when you see these states, Alaska. I mean, how in the world is it? And here's what's funny. Governor Dunleavy up there is leading by like 30 with like 85% of the vote, and they won't call the race. And I don't how many votes are out there.
They haven't dog sledded the rest of them in from North Pole, Alaska yet.
Same thing happened with the new district in Montana. Montana gained a congressional seat.
Yeah.
So now they have the Billings, Helena, one.
Yeah.
Then they have the rest of the state as another. You could picture Montana in your head. And of course, the Republican won the outstate one easy.
Yep.
And I can't remember the person's name, but they're ahead with like 88% of the vote in. But that 12% is so small because there's not that many people there. And the way finally it got called this afternoon.
Yeah.
For the Republican. That's a new district.
Right.
And it just, I'm like, come on. I mean, there aren't even that many votes out there. So what's going on in those western states? I mean, some of them are beautiful to drive through. In Colorado 3, I don't know why that's 99% of the. Why is it? And I don't mean to be partisan on this.
Yeah.
But why is it if a Republican is winning with 99.9% of the vote, they won't call it? If a Democrat is winning with 40% of the vote out there, they call it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying what.
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
I'd like to hear an explanation. I mean, sure. I suppose if the Democrat is ahead by, having 40% and most of it's outstate and not in the urban areas, you can, I think, safely assume that the urban areas are going to go blue. However,
you can, but you still should just let the vote come in. Yeah. Why would you let it come in on one race and not another? I mean,
because it's terrible TV.
Yeah.
That's why.
Damn remote. Who invented the remote control?
But yeah, I don't understand it too. I mean, that Lauren Boebert's race hadn't been figured out, through earlier today.
There's the seats, and there's Arizona. I think 6 or 7 finally got called today too, and that's the one that had the votes all in.
Yeah,
and it's like, what in the world? But I don't get it. I don't. Just whatever they're doing in Florida, I think Florida ought to teach classes. And then I have to credit Texas too. They're very good at it as well. People don't know about it because they haven't had the close races that some of the other states have had.
Yes.
But they're excellent. I mean, and I'll say this, back in 2016 or 2020, 2/3 of President Trump's vote came in early.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't happen without a party working, getting people to the polls, not complaining about early voting, but just working on it. Hint, hint, Minnesota GOP.
Yeah. The other surprising thing was that the Fetterman-Oz race got called so quickly, despite the fact that they said, "Oh, this might take weeks to figure out."
Yeah, I don't.
Was it really that clear that fast?
I don't know. And I also, it's interesting. I've heard a lot of Republicans griping about how they need better candidates.
Yeah.
If John Fetterman's a U.S. Senator, you can't lecture Republicans about quality candidates.
Well, there is that.
And unfortunately, it's another win for the hide in a basement strategy. Yeah. It's another win for the media covering up something. It's reported that when Fetterman and Oz actually debated, that as much as 25% of the state had already voted.
Yeah.
That's an estimate. We won't know that for a while, but so it's just another testament to the as we saw with Tim Walz here, the avoid the public, let your money men do something, and go hide. And that's unfortunate that gets rewarded. That's cowardly. I still think Mr. Fetterman should be at home recovering.
Yeah.
His life is more important than political power. But don't lecture me that Republicans didn't have good candidates when John Fetterman won a race. I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for Dr. Oz. I think he was a quality candidate. He was an articulate guy. He didn't fall down the line, I guess, completely on the issues. But I think he did. I thought he was polished. I thought he had a lot of good things to say. I was kind of excited for him to be a senator. I think he'd make a good senator. That's my opinion. And it's just too bad. It's too bad that happened. So, and look for all eyes on Georgia for another month.
Again.
And I hate to say it, but the Democrat would be the favorite there.
Probably.
With, Governor Kemp outperforming Herschel Walker Governor Kemp actually won by almost 10.
Yeah.
I mean, he won pretty handily.
I mean, the Libertarian did take 2%. Now, if they turn out to vote, which is questionable.
Well, there
to
won't
begin
be a
with.
Libertarian on the ballot
Right.
this time.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean. So I don't see them going for Warnock.
No, they could
if they come out to
Yeah,
vote.
I mean, Chambliss had one of those seats.
Yeah.
He got like 49.9 one time because there were like 8 people on the ballot.
Yeah.
And this happened in Louisiana one time with, I forget who, it might have been David Vitter or somebody else. John Kennedy has that seat now.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. It was again where there were like, 7 candidates, and there was like an independent and a libertarian and whatever, and they all picked off of said. Well, when Saxby Chambliss actually ran in the runoff, he won like by 20. It wasn't
Right.
close. So I don't know. Weird things can happen in a runoff. It might not be for all the marbles. So I don't know. It's Alaska is because of their stupid system.
Yes.
The 2 Republicans
yeah.
will be at the top.
Well, the Republican and the
and Murkowski, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call her. But I mean, in number, they'll have the caucus. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what'll happen. But yuck. That's all I can say is yuck. And get rid of these damn runoffs. God, they're so stupid. It's worse than ranked choice voting. Anyway,
I don't know about that, but
well, it's close. I mean, why have an election if you're just going to have another one?
yeah.
We've been through primaries. We've been through caucuses.
I
I mean,
know.
it just doesn't make sense. So, so here we have it, Jay,
Yes.
here in Minnesota. And again, being a local show, I don't want to talk about local races. There's just no way to cover that. We had interesting results at
But
this.
I do want to say one thing about the local races. Despite the trends in Minnesota that we're going to talk about, we did pretty well.
Yeah, you and I did pretty well. We won't out anybody.
No,
here,
we're not
but
going to out anybody, but
We did okay.
Yeah, let's just put it this way: we're in double digits.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
that's
we had
good.
we had a decent batting average.
Absolutely.
We got a better batting average than anybody else in this state that isn't a DFLer, and I'll just keep my mouth shut after that. But yeah, I think
Yes.
there's a lot of implications. Most of them not all that great for what happened at the state level. I
Yes.
mean, if you go back on my show, Jay, I went off on a tangent in May about what happened at the legislative session and what happened with candidate recruitment, particularly on the Republican side. I was hoping I was, there's so many times I'm wrong. Unfortunately, this was a time I was right. And I was hoping I wouldn't be. But with the DFL claiming that they won, I mean, I think there's still some races out there that aren't quote unquote official. But we're going to assume for today's talk that they're going to take both houses and have Governor Meathead. The consequences of that for local governments.
Yeah.
And that's and Mary Moriarty's victory, which I think is also a big
I don't
issue.
even understand.
I understand it. I mean, I don't understand how people could vote for a public defender.
Yeah.
But I do understand how she won. She got her name in with the DFL machine. Hennepin County, they're carrying 70, 73, 75% of the vote. She got much lower than that, but she was carried along for the ride. And the consequences that are going to happen as a result of it.
Yeah.
I think the first, and this is one I didn't think about till today, Jay, because there's obvious ones to talk about, especially with education and so on and so forth. But how about a winner in Southwest Light Rail. What do you want to bet that audit, which I don't understand what the point was of anyway, suddenly isn't all that important anymore?
Yeah.
Judy Blaha or whatever her name is, probably ain't going to work too hard on that now. Right. And what do you bet? You want to bet you got the green light on Southwest Light Rail and it'll be pushed through. And because look, the DFL held control from 2012 to 2014 and pushed everything and got beat in 2014. But the DFL always does what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
They don't get to govern like Republicans who all get cold feet in doing their agenda. Repeal and replace. Sorry. But that was when the Central Corridor was in doubt back then. And soon as they took control, that Central Corridor was fast-tracked. And I'm going to guess Southwest Light Rail, despite the cost overruns, despite the fact that absolutely nobody thinks that this is worth the money, is going to be fast-tracked and it'll be down that train track, and nothing's going to stop it now.
No, I mean they're not going to stop it anyways. They've got a bunch of the construction already done through St. Louis Park.
Yeah, and of course, what was the point of an audit?
Right.
Wasn't going to change anything. So,
nope.
I mean, the Republicans made some big deal about that, like that was some sort of victory. Okay, government wastes money. What did we learn?
Nothing.
So,
yeah.
But I think that's coming here to stay, and it will be fast-tracked over the next 2 years.
And I think that will also have repercussions on the Blue Line extension going up Botno.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that can stop that either. There's nobody at Hennepin County with enough guts to stop it. I don't think there's a city that has the votes to stand in the way either. And there's no doubt that will get funded in this next biennium as well. So I think they're both a goal. I think nothing stops either one of them from now on.
And whatever the next one is in line, I think the process is going to begin for the engineering and project work on that one as well.
Yeah, and I think that's probably already happening. I mean, I'm sure the EIS stuff was already going on.
I don't know which one that was, since Gateway decided to go with BRT, unless they decide to change route now.
I don't know. I don't know that they
favorable winds.
Yeah, I don't know if they can at this point, because I think the bus rapid transit is so different, creating that lane for it. I don't know that you could just switch. There's no existing track out there either.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing would surprise me, whether that's Northern Lights.
That could be
the old Red Rock that was going to go down to Hastings.
Those will probably get green lighted, won't they?
Well, I mean, whatever phase they're in, I don't know what they're in. And I think there'll be a lot of opposition to extending, what's the one that goes to Big Lake?
North Star.
There'll be a lot of opposition to extending that, because the people up that area will be hostile to it, whereas I think the first ring suburbs here won't be.
I think Sherburne County got a lot stronger in this last election, and so I think that's going to help too.
There's some city councils up there that might be an issue too. I think that's dead probably, but I mean, everybody's on board with the stuff here, and I think light rail was a huge winner in this election, and I think that's a dark horse thing. Nobody talked about it on either side. It's one of those under the radar things, but I know that the Dems have been itching to expand that for quite some time. It's been slowed, it's been frustrated, it's been it has been succeeded in slowing down, but till this stuff is trashed, it won't ever go away. It'll never go away.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another big thing I'm certainly worried about, and that is you can say goodbye to a budget surplus.
Yes.
And I think it will be blown. I think there'll be a feeding frenzy of rewarding DFL constituencies.
Yes.
Education Minnesota in particular, I think will get the bulk of that money.
They got to fund education, Andrew.
Well,
it's not funded. Did you hear that?
All I know is I better not hear schools aren't fully funded. If all your friends are in charge, then if you get fully funded, then I better see some results. I better see you quit bitching and quit whining, which is all teachers do, Don't. Well, I mean, seriously, some of it's legitimate, some of it isn't.
Right.
I guess they're unions. I probably
Yes,
should say that's all they
probably
do. They're
better,
the chief whiners and complainers. And so I don't want to hear it anymore. You get your fully funding. I better see the achievement gap gone. I better see test
Class
scores
sizes
up.
reduced.
I better see all that. My guess, here's my guess.
Yeah.
They're going to get a big chunk of money and nothing will change.
Oh, things will change all right. Because you can say hello to all of the trans agenda stuff.
Yeah, but that's
that-
going to happen anyway. It's got nothing to do with full funding.
They need more money for having systems set up so that they can get kids the gender affirming care they need, get puberty blockers into their body to ruin them forever and crush people's identities and buy more pornographic books for their libraries and waste more money on.
Well, I will say this. I think
Yeah.
I think that that might be harder to accomplish than we think. I mean,
Depends on the parents.
well, but it also depends. The DFL does. I don't know that they have a 34 to 33 advantage in the Senate. I don't know that.
Well-
I know that they could. I don't know that they could just push through anything they want. More money is coming. I don't know about the rest of the stuff, but more money they're going to get without a doubt.
Right. Well, I think some of that is mandated by the Department of Education, and some of that is at the school district level, where they get the money and they can kind of decide how they're going to spend it, I assume.
To a degree.
It's really up to, how much of a spending increase on the schools are they able to get through the Senate? And
Well-
I don't know. I mean, I saw our former Senate leader stand up.
Remember, it's budgeted to increase anyway.
Yeah.
So they're going to get more.
Yep.
The last time it was frozen was during the Pawlenty year, the unallotment and the delayed payments and all that, the little gimmicks
Right.
that happened back in 09, 08, 2010 era. They're going to get more money. I don't know. I think these independent school districts, there were some school board races where I think it's not going to be so simple to just jam that stuff. The Department of Education mandates all that stuff. I guess I'm not familiar with that. You could be right on that. I don't know. But education's going to get the bulk of what they want here. But here's the thing. What the teachers union wants is it's spent on them. I don't know that they're going to go get puberty blockers. I think they want more money. I think they want free stuff. 81% of the money in a typical district goes directly to people. So I think the big thing's going to be, you're going to see huge union contracts. You're going to see that money filtered into the DFL like it always is. It's just more that goes to them. You're going to see, a lot of that stuff, whether that equals better education or not, I have no idea. Probably not.
Do you think that we're going to see the graduation standards lowered again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think we have already set that up. I think with COVID, we've already lowered expectations with the test scores down. They have to make the case that this money is going somewhere and doing something. Mm-hmm. And the classic way that education has done that is to dumb down the standards and make it look. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's funny. I rewatched a 1998 Minnesota governor's debate the other day.
Yeah.
And they were talking then about how to solve the achievement gap. And that was 24 years ago.
Yes.
So what does that tell you? Where all our money's gone, all the rhetoric, all the talk, nothing has been done on it. It's just a talking point to get more money. Just like fully funding, full funding. All that is a political gimmick.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. Nobody can even define what full funding means. But I'm going to tell you something. They're going to get the increase, and they're going to get a chunk of this. And this is a problem, too, when they get a big chunk of this surplus, because that's going to become the new baseline for how they're going to figure spending in the future.
Right.
In the next biennium. But there's no doubt that the budget surplus will be gone very quickly. I mean, the original agreement, if you go back to last May, And there were a lot of Republicans not happy with me. There were a lot of Republicans pissed off at this deal. And I'm going to tell you, they're going to wish they made this deal because the original deal was to take a third of the money and rainy day it, a third of the money and give it back, and a third of the money was going to be to spend.
Yeah.
Not the greatest deal.
No.
Okay. And again, I'm not quite against the spending because I would have taken the spending to avoid a bonding bill, but that's me. Having said that, I'm okay with the rainy day funds because, government. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear tax increases in 2 years when they blew all the money. And it was not enough going back to people, but it was something. And, something is better than nothing. 50% is better than zero. And Republicans wouldn't agree to it, or they agreed to it and backed out, or whatever it was. And now, not only are the taxpayers getting nothing back, but I'm going to tell you something. If they do, if the DFL gives Walls checks of $100 to anybody, the DFL is going to get the credit for it.
Absolutely, they will.
I mean, even if Republicans vote for it, nobody's going to care.
Right.
So it was a huge misplay. It was a huge. I'll tell you what, if I could get Jeremy Miller in a poker game, that's what I really would like to do because he'd probably fold aces against my deuce 8. But the truth is, with a Democratic House and a Democratic governor, it's probably the best deal they could have made.
Well, yeah.
And had the Republicans won, there would have been that other third of the money sitting there. Maybe they could have brought it out. I don't know. But, not dealing with that surplus is a big problem. We're not going to have it long, folks. It's going to be spent. No doubt about it. It's going to be spent. So look for that. I'll tell you what. When it comes to, and I want to get back to education for a minute because, we talk about, the state side of it.
Yes.
But that never stops referendums, does it?
No.
So not only is the spending a problem, but education reform is also dead.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get, there's talk about not having referendums in March, not trying to sneak them in over the summer, things like that. There's actually talk, the School Boards Association is now pushing to eliminate referendums. I actually think there's an outside chance that referendums get eliminated, that they're automatic, just like counties and cities can do.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that happens, that our right to vote on these things is taken away. And I think that there's maybe a here's the thing. I think the DFL is going to run things for 4 years.
Yeah.
Walls' entire second term. I don't think the Republicans will win in 24. With Amy Klobuchar on the ballot in a presidential year, I don't see the Republicans winning. I can't see them getting their act together. If they haven't gotten their act together in 20 years, I don't know why they do it now. So they're going to have 4 years to remove referendums, and I think they're going to make a play to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's their top priority. I think it's doling out the money and that kind of thing first.
Yeah.
But I think that there's going to be a move. There's a push already for it to be done. And
Do you think they're going to remove the oversight of the state over localities to implement a local option sales tax?
No.
Okay.
No, I think
they like having that control.
Yes. Yes, I do, because I think what the strategy is if everybody starts doing it, that'll be the rationale to not have it.
Right.
But there's only so many cities now that have it. They need more.
Yeah.
So I think the rationale is we'll approve it every time.
Right.
Which they will. And then now they definitely will.
Yes.
But I think once it gets to a certain number, yes, I think they'll roll it back then and just say, yeah, do whatever you want. You want to make it 100%, make it 100%. You want it 300%, make it 300%. Now, look, I think they'll try. Again, I don't know that you have all Democrats on board with that because, number one, I always point this out, that's a regressive tax.
Right.
And also, I think one thing they need to insist on is sunsetting.
Yeah.
And that's, but I don't know that all Democrats are on board with something like that. I think you could piecemeal it.
Yeah.
I think that might be the way they attack it. But yeah, I think that's in jeopardy. I think it's been in jeopardy the whole time. I think even Republicans have been for that, arguing local control. Mm-hmm. So which has its pros and cons here because, the idea that you can just tax anything except fresh air, and even that's probably taxed somewhere in this country. So, I mean,
carbon credits.
Yeah. No kidding. So I think I think that's, again, I don't think that's a priority. But I do think, I think that'll be on the table for sure. And I think Republicans will vote for it too. So no doubt.
Wow.
I think another consequence, Jay, and this is one thing that I've noticed, it was under Governor Dayton as well, and maybe even more so under him, is it will be a metro-centric legislature and governor.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what is spent per student in Minneapolis versus, Pequot Lakes.
Yeah.
You look at light rail, you look at sports stadiums. It is very metrocentric. Now, the result of that is going to be, we have a governor who talks about one Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he couldn't be dividing the state anymore if he tried. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see the red areas get redder, the blue areas get bluer. I think that's one consequence of this.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, we saw it under Mark Dayton. We're seeing it under Walz again, that it is a total metrocentric party. Most of their members are from here.
Yep.
There's 50, 60 counties where you have to send out an Amber Alert to find a Democrat, but it's enough for them to still win the state. So I think you're going to see a very metrocentric, especially when it comes to bonding.
Yeah.
Because there's no incentive for Democrats to bond in outstate Minnesota. There's no horse trading they can make. There's no deal they can make where, okay, I'll fund this and you fund that and we'll horse trade this. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's politics.
Right.
So you're going to see a record bonding bill. I predict $4 billion, even despite a huge surplus. Wow. And it is going to be spent largely on the Twin Cities and maybe Duluth. And outside of that, you are not going to see it spent anywhere.
Right.
Maybe Rochester, maybe Mayo Clinic and other places.
And maybe Moorhead because it's blue.
Maybe, but I don't know that there's the projects up there to do.
Right.
Other than Minskew. You have Minskew.
And if there's some flooding with the Red River Valley.
Maybe, but they have emergency funding for that. So, I think you're going to see any projects up in, they're going to line up because the DFL will be handing out the money. But look for it to be a extremely metrocentric bonding bill for sure, but it's going to be a record number. And I'll tell you what, the Republicans can kill it.
Yeah.
You need 60% in both houses, which the Dems don't have, but we all know Republicans. They have folded on bonding bills or gotten bought off or whatever it is year after year after year. They will never hold the line on that. They'll all vote for it. You'll have some people, and the election lost some mavericks.
Yeah.
People like Eric Mortensen who got beat.
That was sad, yes.
Yeah, they lost some people, especially in the House. Now that Drazkowski and Calvin Barr are senators, you're going to see the House get more votes, I think, for the bonding bill, believe it or not. The Senate, it might pass 59 to 15. It will go through both houses without a doubt. So I think, unfortunately, we're headed toward a record bonding bill, and I think it'll be very Twin Cities centric. That the Dems will reward the areas that voted for them. So, and that's too bad. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a governor who talks about one Minnesota, and he couldn't drive a stake through, be more divisive than he is. I mean, he lost 70 out of 87 counties, I believe, or 66 out of 87, and claims one Minnesota. What a joke.
Yeah.
So I think another consequence, I'm going to say another consequence, Jay, is drug legalization.
Oh,
I
yes.
think we're on the verge of that. I think we
Probably.
were anyway. I think even if it doesn't pass, you're going to have county attorneys like Mary Moriarty who are not going to
She won't.
prosecute that anyway. Keith Ellison is uninterested in it also. We'll just let kids be drug heads and pot heads and, work their way up the
Right.
drug ladder. I mean, there's positives, there's pros and cons, I think, to legalization.
Right.
To me, but I think for recreational use, I think that's one of the first things on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Well, do you think we're going to see, like in California, where they're supplying drugs as part of a rehabilitation program?
No, because if you're going to legalize it recreationally, the supply's already there.
But for like homeless people, especially, are we going to see strung out people?
Yeah, I think
downtown Minneapolis.
Yeah,
I mean,
Minneapolis.
should somebody go down there?
we already do.
I don't go down there.
Yeah, they're already down there, strung out.
Yeah, but not quite to the levels that we see like in San Francisco and LA.
Yeah, I think everything that's happened in California, we're 2 steps behind it.
Yeah.
So I think yes is the answer that you're
We're
going to say.
now with Mary Moriarty. We're on the door of being the next Chicago, next New York,
next LA.
Yeah.
That's what we're on the door for.
Yeah.
So yes, I think the answer. Now, do I think we're going to see that statewide? No. I think we'll see it in Duluth.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think-
they struggle with drugs a lot because they're a thoroughfare from Chicago.
Well, you keep in mind meth is a problem in a lot of
Yeah.
rural places
Absolutely
in the state. And like I said, I mean, there's pluses and minuses to this. I think maybe decriminalizing is a decent first step. Let's decriminalize it and see what happens then. What I mean by decriminalizing is, okay, I'm not going to throw you in jail for having paraphernalia. Okay, we're not going to do that, but we're not going to let you, run a marijuana ring at Armstrong High School. Okay,
Right.
I mean, I think there's ways to incrementally do this, or see what happens. See if the doomsday things happen, or if they don't. Unfortunately, I think there's a look the other way mentality already. It's basically legal. I mean, that's just my take on it. So I think it's legal. I think it's legal. I think it'll happen in 2023.
Yeah.
That it will happen. And I do think, again, I don't know how the Republicans will vote. I mean, Eric Mortensen voted for it last time. He's out. I think there were a handful of Republicans who did. It did not pass the Senate. I think there's a handful of Democrats against it too. I don't think it's quite down the partisan lines that some people think it is, but I do think that one way, and it'd be interesting to see how the Democrats do things. Are we still going to have big omnibus bills, even though one party controls everything? I mean, are we actually going to vote on something? I mean, so, but I think, I'll be very honest here. I think that's one of the top, believe it or not, one of the top things on their agenda is to legalize marijuana. I really think that's one of the top things they want to do, which sounds weird because I don't remember people saying that as one of they're not going to go fight crime. They're not going to fix the economy. They're not going to do anything like that.
Are they going to stop with marijuana?
Yeah, for now.
For now. Yeah.
I mean, marijuana is the first domino to fall, and it's someday all drugs will be legalized at some point.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I'm surprised some of the states that have legalized it, whether that's Colorado, California, I'm surprised some of them haven't taken another step yet.
What, did the mushroom thing pass in Colorado?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it did.
Yeah, I don't. That's right. I forgot that was on the ballot.
Yeah, I think it did pass.
Probably everybody was probably on shrooms already when they went to vote, so it wouldn't surprise me if they did. They're high on the mountains, high on the mountain of love out there.
Rocky Mountain High. Yeah, that's what that was about. Mushrooms.
So, yeah, it could be. I didn't hear about it, but if I had to guess, probably. Do I think it stops there for now? Yes. But we've got horrible fentanyl crisis. We got a lot of problems with legal drugs too. I mean, there's just all sorts of things, but But I mean, the reason I mention that when we talk about local government is the havoc that can wreak on some places. And, Minneapolis, St. Paul, they're bad enough and you're going to make it worse, at least in the short run. So, but I think drug legalization is months away.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
How about one of my favorite things, Jay?
Yes.
I think we're close to expanding gambling.
Really?
I think we are, which is something I think Republicans should embrace, get off their damn high horse. When you lose Gen Z by 30 points, you got to pick an issue here. But I've always found it funny how I can walk into a gas station and do some government gambling.
Right.
But if I want to put that same amount of money on the Vikings, I'm a criminal. So sports betting, I think, is something that might be on the table now.
Wow.
I think it's possible. Hey, how about, speaking of drugs, how about industrial hemp? I mean, do you think expanding that is... actually, I don't know what the laws are right now on hemp in Minnesota, but do you think that's something that could get pushed?
I think so. Oh, I'm not sure. Is it illegal?
I don't know. I don't know if it's illegal.
Because, I mean, you can have clothing and rope and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. CBD oil.
I think there's a lot of limitations on it.
Yeah.
But I think industrial hemp is you can make a lot of things with that. And I don't know. I don't know what what the law is right now on that. I don't want to look it up right now, but there is a hemp program at the Department of Agriculture.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't know if I don't have time to look it up right now, but there's an application process. You have to be a license holder. I'm sure there's a ton of red tape. There always is. There's always. The 2014 Farm Bill allowed state departments of agriculture to administer pilot programs. Blah, 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 blah. The 2018 Farm Bill officially legalized hemp cultivation for commercial purposes. Would that be a farm bill on the federal level, I wonder?
Maybe.
Must be, because it says officially legalized. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, now, what do you think? You think we're going to have some new stadiums or something come up now? For
Well, I don't know.
Twins need a new stadium?
You know, I think we're pretty much as full as we can get on new stadiums right now, aren't we?
How about local control of stuff, Jay? What do you see as we talk about statutory cities and things like that. Do you see anything changing? I mean, what do you see as far as like possible things that could be done to a city or take away their or do you see any changes happening from the state to local government relationship?
I don't. I think that there'll be more unfunded mandates. I think that
that'll lay on the counties mostly, but
a lot of it will. But like we saw with this COVID money, and there's nothing saying that there won't be a whole new batch of COVID money to be released to cities. If you do X, Y, Z, if
so it'll be the bribery, the government bribery.
I think there'll be a lot more of that. You're going to have a lot of these things that they've been trying to get passed that they're going to have to take a look at bribing cities, I think, to get done, because a lot of them have been kind of reticent to do it.
So expanding grants and things like that might be another.
That might be another avenue. Because they're going to have to start, for the cities that aren't doing it fast enough, they're going to have to start pushing a lot of this green agenda, whether it's in development, whether it is in diversity of housing, whether it is in a lot of this stuff. I mean, I believe that the Democrats are going to push these things because they need to hit their goals. To go along with all the COP 30 and the,
on the 2050 plan now.
Yes, all of that stuff. So,
I'll tell you one thing that I am concerned about is mandates in hiring.
Yes.
Hiring X amount of people of color, hiring X amount of trans people, check the boxes.
Oh, absolutely.
I worry about that as a mandate. Or an unspoken mandate, however you want to put it. We're going to dangle funds if I think there's going to be and I actually joked when I said this a year ago, but I think it might be true. There might be a database of how cities are doing, and there's a list of racist cities. This city doesn't have any black cops.
All right. Well, that's possible.
So they're racist cities. They're
not meeting the
Confederates.
quotas. Yeah.
Never mind that being a cop is not like applying to be a fry cook at McDonald's. There's a lot that goes into it. But I really see the box checking as something that's going to grow. Whether that's an unspoken mandate, whether it's grant money to bribe, you're going to see race, gender, one of the 39,000 genders.
Yeah.
You're going to see that attached to everything now. And not that it already isn't, but you're going to see it turned up. I think you're also going to see, I think you're even going to see it pushed on elected people that, hey, this city doesn't have any women on the council. This city doesn't have any minorities on the council.
Yeah.
Never mind, none of them run. I mean,
right. Well,
you have to run for something and win.
I don't know how you manage that.
You don't.
Because it's elected.
But you don't. What you do is you point it out and you expose it and you use that to run with. I mean, you use it as you recruit candidates and say, hey, there's no women on this council, so that's what we need on this council. And that becomes the focal point of somebody's campaign. They get all the DFL money, they get the machine, they get, there's person of color. How many times do we hear that? So,
way too much.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, I think the unions will probably go along with it as well because they're going to get rewarded with DFL money. So I think you're going to see, if anything, again, I go back to the funny thing about Tim Walz's One Minnesota, which he couldn't possibly have a slogan that less describes him than that. And you're going to see that. You're going to see the divisiveness in that grow and get worse. So that's something I fear. I mean, I fear that, sheriff's departments could get that mandated on them somehow. You have a goal to hit this by this date. There's going to be consequences of funding if you don't. Yeah. I mean, who says they can't do that?
Yep.
I think they will. I mean, I don't know that they'll do it that brazenly, but there's unspoken mandates, in my opinion, already.
Yeah.
So, it won't be fun.
No, not at all.
And as far as other things with I think I don't know that much reform. I agree with you. I don't know that many things. I think a lot of reforms that we'd like to see are be stopped.
Yes.
Like I said, I'd like to see things change about statutory cities. I'd like incentives to move to a charter city and things like that. And I don't think we're going to see them. I think property taxes need a tremendous amount of reform in this state. And I don't think the DFL has any interest in that at all.
School funding needs a ton of reform.
It needs reform, not necessarily money thrown at it. Yeah. And I just don't think you're going to see that. I don't think they're interested in that. And again, I mean, the Republicans have to take a lot of blame for it too, because they've had opportunities to change it and haven't. But property taxes, I think, is one thing in the state that needs tremendous reform.
Yes.
They are terrible. They're awful. There's too many classifications. Our farmers are getting killed with that. And, of course, the farmers are out in the Republican areas, so don't expect the DFL to do anything to help them.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a big, I think to me it's a huge problem, the property taxes, and especially when you consider how much housing is going for right now, plus interest rates. You jack up the property taxes on top of it, and you're making it so hard for people to live.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate. So,
Fantastic.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not being optimistic about much, but I wouldn't be optimistic about much no matter who won. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know that I would be. So
Well, I think there's reasons to be less optimistic
Well,
than
I've said
if
before,
government was split.
when governments split and they kind of do nothing, sometimes I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
When they keep $12 billion of my money, that's when I'm not all that all right about it.
Right.
So
Well, and I know all this stuff is really bad, and we're not really coming up with much of anything positive that's going to happen over the next 4 years. But I think one of the most tragic things that we're in line for is that, and it's been spoken about already, so I know that they're thinking about it. This isn't just me postulating, that I think we're going to see Minnesota become an abortion destination for the surrounding states and really anyone in the country that wants to come to Minnesota to get it done, where we're going to see taxpayer dollars go toward paying for these abortions for people from other places. And we're not talking about rape and incest. We're not talking about 12 weeks, which I think is bad enough in and of themselves. We are talking about second trimester, third trimester, or possibly like we see in Maryland and like they're trying to get passed in California and a couple other places, we're up to and including the day of birth. And in fact, is it Maryland, I believe, that goes even further past that you have so many days afterwards. Or no, sorry. California is pushing toward, but has not yet got where even
so
a
many
month.
days after?
Yeah, like I think California wants like 28 days after birth. If a mother decides she doesn't want the baby, it can still be quote unquote aborted.
Wow.
And I don't know if Minnesota will go that far, but we tend to follow California on a lot of other things.
Incrementally.
Yeah.
I would say they do it incrementally. I think that's one of the biggest failures of the Republican Party this year.
Yes.
Is to talk about the Democrats' position on abortion.
Absolutely.
Instead of their own. I said back in the summer that Republicans should endorse a compromise on the issue, even though I know it will not satisfy X amount of people. Shouldn't, and then change something. But people just aren't willing to do it, particularly on that issue. And look at what's happened. Now, instead of abortion, as bad as it is, with some restrictions or some limitations that will eliminate a large number of them, guess what we have?
Those restrictions are going
abortion
away.
on demand.
Yep. Those restrictions are going away. And here's the thing that's the real kicker, and how the Republicans really did screw this up big time, is allowing the Democrats to frame the discussion on abortion as, they're just too radical, too extreme for Minnesota. Instead, 17% of people agree with late-term abortions. 17 across the country. Where you have closer to half that might be pro-choice, 17% of people are okay with late-term abortions, and we did not use that at all to frame the argument. And it's a rookie error.
Not one candidate anywhere in the country, I heard, frame the issue that way.
Rookie error. It's
I didn't
terrible.
hear anybody frame it that way. It's kind of like when Democrats and Republicans talk about the environment. If it is framed as the Republicans love polluting and the Democrats are saving the world, Republicans will lose it every time, no matter what the truth really is. And it's the same thing here. Instead of saying, okay, look, like I said, except in rape and incest is not that simple. It's not that simple when people say it. Like I always pointed out, if somebody says they're raped, it might be a year before that case goes to trial. That person is presumed innocent. So how do you figure that out? It's not so easy. And incest, I don't know that you can prove that till the baby's born. I'm not sure you can. Maybe you can today, but I'm not sure. So, I mean, it's not that simple. But just, I endorse 10 weeks as a compromise for now. That okay. In early term or rape or incest, if there's any question about that, I endorse 10 weeks as a compromise. I think that will eliminate most abortions or a lot of them. You'll definitely have less, which is my goal, is less abortions, not necessarily none. I'm satisfied with less. Some people aren't, but I am. And then again, you can win elections and change the laws after that if you want to. But again, when you're right, when it's framed as Republicans constantly on the defensive about it.
Yep.
When Tim Walz is winning this issue 4-1, that tells me that the propaganda that they're putting out, which are lies. I mean, they're half truths or they're quarter truths. Yep. And then nothing was coming out the other side. It was terrible. And I mean, and I can't just blame this on Jensen either. I blame Matt Burke for some of it. He fumbled this really bad. But I also go back to nationwide. This never should have been the issue that it was.
No.
Supreme Court made the correct decision legally.
Yep.
And they did. Okay. And took it to the states where it belongs.
Yes.
Why can't I vote on abortion? Just like I can vote on anything else. And Republicans should have either framed it the way you framed it, and run on restrictions.
Yeah.
Maybe not run on no abortion under any circumstance.
Our constitution in the state needs to be changed in order for that to happen.
Well, right. And that's not very easy to do.
No.
So, yeah, I don't know how they fumbled that, but they fumbled it, no doubt about it. And you're right. We're going to become a destination because I'm going to tell you something. South Dakota is not going to legalize it.
North
Dakota's not. Iowa now, Governor Reynolds was elected by a wide margin.
Yeah.
All of the congressional seats there fell Republican.
Yes, they
Every
did.
single one. I mean, this is a state Barack Obama won. The state Michael Dukakis won. And that state has completely changed.
Yes.
Nebraska, Missouri's a deep red state. I mean, it's going to be Minnesota and Illinois. I mean, even though Tony Evers was reelected, you look at Republicans went everywhere else in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Legislature in both houses got more Republican. Ron Johnson was reelected. I mean, Minnesota and Illinois are going to be the destinations.
Yes.
From Lake Michigan.
And the
west.
blood's going to be on our hands.
Yeah.
That falls on us, and not just the people who are performing them, not just the DFL legislators that are creating the rules for this, but
there
us,
aren't any rules.
Us
there won't be any
conservatives that did not run this elections in this state.
The miscalculation, and it's funny because I thought the Democrats miscalculated this.
Yeah.
I thought that the focus on abortion was wrong-headed. If you look at a lot of polls, Jensen was winning on crime. He was winning on inflation and the economy.
Yeah.
And I think I thought those were the top two issues. They were the top two issues for Republicans.
Yeah.
I don't know that the rest of the state voted on that. So maybe that was the miscalculation. I don't know. But I know pro-life people who went out and voted enthusiastically too. I do know them. They definitely did.
They did.
So they're outnumbered in this. And one thing here too, and I know abortion's not the easiest issue to compromise on, but the reality is in this state that abortion is constitutionally protected, and pro quote unquote choice people, I hate calling it that, outnumber pro-life people. So the political reality of it is that putting, like you said, putting the Dems on the defensive, making them defend abortion up till birth, is something that didn't happen. And I blame the media for some of it too, because the media could have pointed out the truth, and of course they didn't.
Never will.
Yeah. I mean, we can't rely on the media to do that. When I say we, I mean anybody who's not a DFLer. So, I mean, I think abortion on demand, I think it'll happen everywhere. I think we will become the abortion destination of the upper Midwest. There's no question about it. And that's sad. It's bad enough our state is known for high taxes and, the Vikings and other things. But a welfare state, I mean, that's embarrassing enough. But to be the abortion capital of the upper Midwest is pathetic and sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be. And I'll tell you what, my final thing, and I think this might be the most important, I think you're going to have the worst crime year in 2023. I think crime is going to get so out of control. I think the criminals are going to get the green light. I don't trust the Ramsey County attorney either.
Nope.
I don't trust them to do this job. I never thought I'd be begging Mike Freeman. I wish at least he prosecuted criminals. I disagreed with his politics, but at least people who carjacked got arrested for it. I'm not sure you're going to see much of that anymore. I think Minneapolis is going to be out of control this summer.
Yeah.
I think you'll have the worst summer. I think you might have a repeat of 2020
Oh,
because who's going to stop it? Who gets out of control? Who's going to stop it?
nobody.
So
Yeah.
the criminals have the green light. I think it will get worse in this. I think it will get much worse in the suburbs than it has. I know it's creeped out. Creep out is a word in air quotes.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be the worst crime you're ever going to see.
Well, for Minneapolis, you don't have to defund the police if you can put in a county attorney who won't prosecute crimes.
Yeah, and on top of it, I mean, nobody wants to be a police officer there.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be a police officer in Minneapolis?
It's going to turn into why would you want to be one in any of the suburbs either?
But it's been 2.5 years since the George Floyd. They still can't fill those
No.
positions.
But it has, like you say, crept out. The amount of officers they've lost in Golden Valley that they can't replenish, become the carjacking capital of Minnesota. And it's all over the place. Duluth can't get enough officers.
Well, and again, if you're going to put restrictions on it, they have to be certain color and they have to be a certain gender.
Have to live in the city that you're policing.
One has 4 eyes and the other's 3 ears. I mean, if you're going to sit there and put restrictions on like that,
Who wants to live in a city where you arrest somebody, they get out within a few hours, and they're
in the city you live in,
and they're tailing you home? Who wants to do that?
I didn't think of it like that, but yeah. And you know what? Some of these liberal city councils, I see them, I think they'll implement that regardless. I mean, some of them I think will. So, yeah, I think crime will get out of control. I think it will be as bad as anywhere over this next summer. Minneapolis is already just taken such a beating. They've had record numbers of crime in 2022, and I'm going to say 2023 blows that away.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, here's the number one consequence you're going to have, is you're going to have more Kyle Rittenhouses.
Yeah. More vigilant.
You're going to have people
vigilantism.
step on my lawn.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow your brains out.
Yeah.
You're going to have more than that. I'm surprised we haven't seen it. Surprised we haven't seen more of
Happens
that.
right now in a lot of high rent areas.
Yeah, and I think here's the other thing too.
Yeah.
I think we are seeing it. I just think it's not reported that way. A lot of black on black crime that's not reported the way
No.
Rittenhouse was. Where he was painted as a white supremacist by this
Right.
idiot in the White House. But I think it is happening already. But it goes on the suburbs. It's going to be an all-out war out there.
Very well could
and
be.
that's what
Because who's going to hold them accountable?
no one.
No one.
Not a single person. So I think that might be. I mean, you talk about abortion being the saddest thing, but I think the crime escalation, because I don't think abortion affects everybody. Crime affects everyone. You can't drive to work if your kids can't walk to school. If your a business folds because of it. I mean, you can't park your car somewhere. Twins attendance was really down. I mean, look, everybody talks about attendance being down last year with the Twins, and I think the number one reason had nothing to do with being on the field. Nobody wants to go to Minneapolis.
I'm not going to Minneapolis.
I think that's the number one reason.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I can tell you, I didn't go there last summer,
Yeah.
and
You always go.
I mean, as much as baseball ticks me off nowadays, I love an afternoon at the ballpark.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see it. I mean, I think it's going to make an economic recovery almost impossible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wouldn't live in Minneapolis for free.
No, I wouldn't get paid to live in Minneapolis. It's like that old Stone song, rape, murder. It's just a shot away.
A shot of what?
A shot away.
Oh, I
That's-
thought I
yes.
meant a shot of.
No.
Speaking of that,
Yes.
do you know? I had a good deer hunting story with that. Long day hunting.
Yeah.
I saw nothing. Just 8 hours and nothing. Finally, I see a huge buck, long shot, long ways away. I took 2 shots.
Yeah.
But by the time I got the cap back on the bottle, deer was gone.
Really.
That's a good story. Isn't that a good
sure.
story? Yeah, that's a good story.
Sure.
Yeah, it's terrible. That's awful.
So lots of good times coming up.
Yeah, well, I mean, not much, in the way of in the way of good stuff. I mean, I think that could be. I mean, your only hope is that it's not as bad as you think it can be. I mean, we'll all live through it for the most part, unless you live in Minneapolis. But
Yeah.
I think it's.
What about mandates? We didn't really touch on that.
Yeah.
Mask mandates, vaccine mandates. Do we see those coming again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, here's the great thing about it is that I think I don't think masks will come back, but they could. I mean, again, the people who mandated the masks face no consequences. I don't think it will be a statewide thing,
Yeah.
but I think there'll be no consequences if anybody else wants to do it. I mean, who's going to stop them if a school district wants to impose it, if vaccine mandates happen by certain I don't think any of it's going to still get stopped. I don't know that it will come from the state necessarily, because I'm not sure that, like, even all Dems, I'm not sure would be on board to vote all that in with one vote to spare in the Senate. I would have a hard time.
If you do it early, memories are short. 4 years from now.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I just think there's no incentive for Democrats to do that. I mean, they have 500 other things that are terrible that they want to do. I just don't know that that's the direction they're going to head. I think they're not going to stop anything.
Even in the schools, you don't think they'll mandate it.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just taking a guess here, but no, I don't think they'll mandate it. But again, there's tricky ways to get around mandates.
Right.
There's the old carrot and stick. There's the old, I think they may. Okay, look, here's something that could happen.
Yeah.
Walls in the Department of Education. Look, we're not mandating it, but if you want to, we're not stopping you.
Right. We recommend.
Because that's what Walls did with the masks and the school closures. After a while, he punted it.
Financial incentives.
Could be. They've got the surplus money to do it.
Why not?
I mean, it's possible.
Pass the buck to the schools.
Right, but like I said, I don't think it will come from the state. I think it will be disguised as local control. It will be disguised. Well, I didn't implement one. I just only held a gun to their head to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be their out. And I think you're going to see that in all the liberal states. I think you're going to see very few of them brazenly do it.
Right.
I think again, that happened, and you heard the Ron DeSantis's of the world come out and say, we are not effing doing this no matter what. And you heard that from, name your governor on the right, and you heard that.
Yeah.
The left was very quiet. There might have been a few that were critical of it. I really don't remember, but I mean, for the most part, I think the Republican governors basically absolutely no way, no how.
Yeah.
I think the Dems' silence tells me they're smart enough not to say it, but they're dumb enough to do it in a different way.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be under the guise of, well, You know, it's your school, it's your independent school district. Nod,
Right.
wink, wink. That is going to implement that, not us.
Teacher certification, I think, is sure to pass no matter what the judge comes back with now, right?
Probably. It may not pass as brazenly as it is. It may not, with local school boards changing a little bit in some areas.
Yeah.
I think they may fight that there. I think that I think that that's almost sure to go through.
Yeah.
And again, where were Republicans on that?
Yep.
I didn't hear school choice or anything like that. I didn't hear that from Jensen. Didn't hear that from hardly anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a consequence of not dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
But those would have been a great thing to put on a flyer or something for a candidate running for House or Senate. Here's what's on the and the Dems again. Here's the other thing: the Dems again silent on it. Mm-hmm. You don't hear Democrats out there defending that.
Oh no,
it's like you got an open border. The Democrats answer, they don't talk about it.
Right.
So it's a thing that they know the political elite do. So I think they're pretty much a cinch to pass. I think they would have anyway. I don't think Republicans would have stopped it.
Well, welcome to South Canada, everybody.
Or cold weather California, whatever you want to call it. I don't think any of it would have happened. Jay, you're going to have to try, as hard as it is, to brighten everybody's day here. I don't know that that's possible, but I'm going to let you try.
I'll see what comes out of my mouth.
Silent and profiling, jet flying, limousine, riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Jason Bradley, take it away. Sign off, sermon.
Thank you, Andrew. Good night, everybody.
No Fetterman impersonating here.
Right. Good morning and evening. We're in for some trouble here. I mean, there's no sugarcoating this. No lipstick you can put on this pig. It is, it's bad news all the way around. And we got it now for 4 long years. 4 years. Like we said earlier in the show, we're not going to have for 2 years and then the House gets switched over when you got Klobuchar on the ballot and you got a presidential race and almost, not for sure, but almost assuredly, you're going to have Donald Trump as one of those people. It's going to be super polarizing. Turnout's going to be super high. I'm sorry, in this state, you're not going to swing the House unless things are so bad in this state.
For the record.
Yeah.
I say Ron DeSantis wins and he beats Trump.
Yeah, he might. He might. Even then, the Dems...
He has to run while he's hot.
Either way, the Dems are going to be so motivated to vote in this state with either candidate that it's going to be high turnout. So unless things have gone to crap so much in this state and around the country, you are not going to see those changes happen in 2 years. And unfortunately, that is like our greatest hope, is that things get so bad that they completely reject everything that the Democrats stand for. That's not very good odds. That's not something you really want to hope in. But that's kind of where we're at. But is all lost? No. But let me tell you that we've spent so much time as conservatives splintered off into our own factions. Some of us are off doing our own thing. Some of us are trying to do this thing over here. Some people are trying to create the wheel because they don't like the way these people are doing it. And then you got other people that are doing this thing over here. You got backbiting, you got arguing, you got people who don't trust this person, people who don't trust that person. We don't line up 100%. We can't come together. All these different things. It's got to stop. If we want to beat the left, if we want to beat these crazy radicals, we have to come together. There can be no more separation. There can be no more dysfunction. You know, my ideals and your ideals might not line up 100%, but maybe they line up 75%. That gives us a lot to work on together. You know, and you may not be interested in all the same things I am, or maybe you are. Well, let's figure out ways to work together and complement each other rather than fighting each other. Why can't we get our act together? Everything is not lost. We have to stand and be unmovable. Even if we're outnumbered, even if we don't have the government, we have to stand like that guy in Tiananmen Square facing off against a tank. If we got to face off against a tank, we got to face off against a tank. And you can't go run and hide like Joe Biden during campaign season. You cannot. Now is the time where we need people more than ever who are willing to get some intestinal fortitude and stand up for what they believe in and dedicate their lives. Say, I've had it with this. I'm worried. I am willing to sacrifice my good fortune and my happiness for a short time so that I can save this country, so I can save this state, so I can save my city. There just aren't enough people standing up. We got plenty of people in this state where we don't have to run a nut job for a candidate because they're the only ones crazy enough to stand up. There are plenty of everyday normal people that stand up and will be willing to post something on Facebook, or they're willing to stand up and in their own families do something, but they won't do what they need to do in order to put things back the way they ought to be. It takes all of us. It takes all of us stopping. It takes all of us making a check on ourselves and saying, you know what? This is the most prosperous and amazing country in the world, and I don't want to lose it. I want to maintain the right to be able to go play pickleball on a Saturday afternoon or go fishing or whatever it is all of you do. Because we're headed fast down a lane that you're not going to like. And at some point, it's permanent. Permanent. So we have the freedom to choose. We can choose to be loafers, or we can choose to be warriors. We can choose every day to get up, put our pants on, and go to battle. Not fighting, but fighting for what we believe. Not fighting with people, but standing up and not being moved. We can do what we've been called to do, to start a blog, to start a podcast, to run for office, to get into the schools, to do any number of things that we're called to do, or we can just continue to mind our own business and watch this ship sink like the Titanic. At some point, there is no going back. Do you want to wait till then to get frustrated? Do you want to wait till then to stand up? You want to wait till they're going to have a gun at your head in order to fight back? Or how about we do it when it's easy? Why wait until the last minute? Everybody loves a cliff. Let's stand up. Let's work together. Let's put our differences aside. Let's learn from each other. And learn how each piece of us fits together and how we can work together to overthrow all of the evil that is coming at us, because that's where we're at. In the Bible, it talks about a time where that which is evil will be called good, and that which is good will be called evil. We're there, folks. We're there. We can learn. We can choose to accept it, or we can choose to not accept it. I don't accept it. That may look like the way things are on the outside, but this is not our destiny. This is not our answer. This is not given to us, and we can't do something to change it. But again, can't be two guys behind a mic. Can't be 100-some people in a legislature. It takes all of us working in our communities, in our cities, in our school districts, in our counties, in our state houses, and in Washington, D.C. People that are coaching Little League and hockey and raising up Eagle Scouts. It takes good people being involved in their communities, going to church, and then letting that change their lives. Well, we're not willing to just put up with stuff anymore. Time for putting up is done. Because if you put up, eventually you're going to have to shut up. And my freedom of speech is one of my most prized possessions because that's my identity. I get to say what's on my heart because it's who I am. So today is a new day. And it may look dark outside, might be darkest night, but the sun will rise tomorrow. We'll make it through this somehow. Heaven help us. Get a hold of us, COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is where the revolution is going to start. Are you on our side? I sure hope so. Until next time, we love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.